Hi folks, I have been listening lately to some buzz in the web about level of intelligence according to race and ethnical group and all this. Seems interesting at first, but whomever happens to know anything at all about academia today, not anything at all, like whomever happens to know more than the usual, that would be more accurate, more than the usual about academia knows today. We have a humongous trouble. Like there are several classes being given that shouldn't be given in at universities at all because the diplomas are useless, and not just useless, it's completely inaccurate. Like there are courses about gender that have no biology in it. How can you give a full course, like a diploma in a course about gender without having absolutely anything to do with biology? So, just to illustrate what I'm about to talk about. So, there are some people, they call themselves intellectuals, whatever they want to call themselves, who am I to judge? Who are now trying to push certain ethnical groups as most intelligent or more intelligent than other ethnical groups. Now, does anybody remember the last time that some people came with that talk? What happened to them like 60 years ago or so? Apparently, some forgot. And no, this is not the same ethnical group. Different ethnical groups this time, who claim to be more intelligent and higher IQ. And well, let me tell you something about such studies. They are biased. Okay? They are biased. They are people that are biased in academia. We have seen it with the big names that we hear a lot around the media that turn out. They end up they want to talk about things that have absolutely nothing to do with what they are really good at, and they end up with their foot in their mouth. And this is what is going on in academia today. And now those other ethnicities are coming with this pep talk about how much more superior intellectual or higher IQ they have than the others. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. Especially because certain cultural groups are more prone to lying than others. Like if we are to go by, those broad brushes that they are using, I would rather say cultural groups. Perhaps even to be more narrow, ideological groups pertaining that claim to speak in the behalf of an ethnical group. We have been there before in the history, and no, it's not the same people, it's other people. We're now claiming to be more intelligent, highly superior than everybody else. And I'm not going to mention groups, not to be called names that I'm not, because then people just stop listening because, yeah, that's the level of intellectuality we have today. So I'm not going to mention which ethnical groups. If you have a brain, figure it out for yourself. But I've seen those people. I remember there was a professor, debatable. Uh, I believe he was filling up for a professor. He claimed to be a professor, but nobody really like, of the students checked his background. I remember him coming into class with wearing a pink tutu, and he was going to, yes, I'm not kidding, I'm not kidding, okay? In one of the top universities of the world I have seen it. And he was going to give a class with music. You know, when I was 17, my first job was official job was as a English teacher. And there were teachers who used music to teach English. You understand? To teach a language. Music makes it easier. However, in the courses I have taught English, I never seen a teacher entering classroom wearing a pink tutu and you know, dire straits, sweat bandana. What's the name of it? That elastic that they put in the head. So apparently he was in for the big show. And this is the academia we have today. Partially, not all academia, but, and it's gaining ground. And now they start talking about that some ethnical groups are more intelligent. I don't know if they're the more intelligent, but they surely have a higher idea about themselves than other groups. I doubt those numbers. I question those numbers. I would like to know the names of the people involved in such research so I could make an estimate about which ethnical groups they belong to, so we can find out if there might be, I'm not saying that there is, but actually I'm saying, but there might be bias. You know, again, there are some ideological groups, not to say ethnical, not to say cultural, that tend to lie, and lie big time to get away with whatever is it they want. I'm not going to get into specifics because I need to see the names first. But I'm pretty sure there is bias. I'm pretty sure those numbers are incorrect. Those people are making stuff up. Because that's the level of that's I don't know if how insecure they are or how superior they think they are in relationship to others. But again, we all seen that happen before, and this time it's not that specific ethnical group. I believe, no, they haven't learned their lesson, because we see Germany now, because they feel guilty about what they did in the last war. Now they want to drag the entirety of Europe into their mea culpa, into their guilt trip. You know, the other European countries kind of fought Germany to get rid of their, you know, of what they wanted to do. So I don't think that other countries should feel guilty for what Germany did to the other countries in Europe, mainly. So it's not that ethnical group claiming to have the highest IQs. Now, one of those ethnical groups, they happen to have, if not both, there are two ethnical groups that are claiming that. They happen to have very corrupt regiments. They have historically proven, you know, especially in the recent decades, to have highly corrupted officials. Okay, or at least ideologically corrupted. It's not so much the money, it's the ideology involved. So they are very ideologically oriented, and of course, by their own ideology. They can't admit to themselves or to the world, especially to the world, that they might not be the brightest in the bunch, because their ideologies surely aren't. So I, I haven't sat down really to analyze all this. To be honest, I don't really want to. But in order to take those studies serious, and this is it's because it's something I have seen again and again in academia today. You know, people are starting to quote sources from their friends or from themselves for what they wrote 3 years ago. Okay? So it's their friends, themselves, people who agree with them, and people who agree with them only. And this is why I usually say that academia is dying, because they do that kind of stuff and they get away with it. They go and they end up speaking in the UN, writing reports to the UN, to which research that they have done is based in something they wrote 3 years ago. That's the reference. Do you understand what we're going through nowadays in the Occident? Don't let them get away with it. What they're doing is wrong. Especially if you have some knowledge of history, civilizations rise and fall. Civilizations rise and fall. It all depends on the systems that they create, if they are functional or not. And if they are functional, at some given point, something wrong happens, either a catastrophe, or volcano, or earthquakes, or drought, when the weather is too dry, and then the crops you can't keep on producing the same kind of crops, like weather changes, and sea levels rising or going down, or other warring, less intelligent, less capable, but in higher numbers, invade and destroy everything and take over. You know, for instance, Central America. They invented the zero, basically. Yeah, I know, and India as well. But Central America, they invented the zero. They had irrigation. They had the system that we use today in toilets, that the water flows through like you pull a string, the pump works. That came from there. They had fortification defense systems. They were Stone Age because of the lack of horses, or the lack of certain resources. Nonetheless, they developed a lot of other stuff. They were highly developed in Central America. What happened? The culture decayed, the weather changed, and apparently, seems to be, and certain areas can produce certain crops. It also caused immigration. There was immigration from other places, and they flooded the civilizations around the river Texcoco. Texcoco, is that the name of the river? And they gradually destroyed it. And it was not just one wave, there were several waves. Like there was a superior civilization to the Olmecs. The Olmecs were pretty superior. Then came the Toltecs, who were a bit inferior, a bit more rough than the Olmecs in terms of everything, arts, you name it. Then came the Aztecs, that were forgive me, any descendant, with all due respect, they were the bottom of the barrel. Like they had to live in the center of the swamp, there in the center of the lake, in the swamp, because a place nobody wanted to even go. You know, they survived the first 100 years there, eating frogs and being bitten by mosquitoes, until they were so populous that they took over the entire place. So history repeats itself, and people seemingly never learn. It's insane. And now we have ethnical groups claiming that they are superior than others, despite the fact that superior intellectually, of course, intellectually. Never mind the fact that the last ethnical group who came with that brilliant idea had their ass kicked by literally everybody. So I don't know superior in what sense if you do stupid things like that. No, no. You cannot be superior intellectually if you would still perform things that are tribal. For instance, you can't claim to be intellectually superior, of course, if you follow an ideology that has failed every time that it has been tried. You just can't. I mean, that's the definition of stupid, to repeat an error again and again and never learn. They say it's also a definition of insanity. I would beg to differ. It's something else. It's not. Insanity is not repeating the same thing again and again and again. That's stupidity. That's dumb. That's what being dumb is about, that you never learn. Insanity is a person that seems normal, and then there is a derange, and they go mental, they go apeshit, to say a word that could be easily understood by everyone. They do something that is inhuman, even, that is illogical. That's the definition of insanity for me. I do not believe in all those mass buzzwords that they are throwing around nowadays, especially from academia. I'm highly skeptical. I have become highly skeptical on academia after all I've seen in it. I can't stand it anymore because of all the stupidity I have seen there, all the inanity, all the mediocrity that I have seen there. Academia today is really for people who want to learn to be yes men. We can debate if all fields or just a few, but this is pretty much what I have concluded about academia. Please prove me wrong, because so far this is what I have seen. You cannot really be someone with a vision, someone who can see things as they are, and remain in academia today without lying. You can't. I tried. So we have a big problem, and those people are pushing those news as if they like those this idle gossip as if it would be something serious. It's not. Okay? It's probably a group of the same, either ethnical group or cultural group or ideological group, that wants people to believe in what they're saying. Don't believe it. Okay? No such a thing so far. Think about it. And if you happen to wish to debate me on this, please, before you do so, bring the names of all the scientists that are researching that. I'm pretty sure I can draw a parallel there. The ethnical group they claim to be intellectually superior to their ethnical backgrounds, regardless of what they claim to be. I don't believe in any of this. I need evidence to believe that. And the evidence that I have so far is pointing in bias and inaccuracy, intentional dishonesty. So far. And I believe that's all I have to say about that.